لما نسيت قالوا وجدت نصحف دالي نيرومو موت هونيهم تبتين نيريو so أتسكنا استوها استي ناي برتاو على سبب تجراي مسواتون وزيتون زمن ينيرو هذا كذا توامن أما topic نتام مناسي استوها topic نايش نصحف the armed struggle of Tigray Ethiopian, the sacrifice and outcome. بزرد زدنا يوقع عنقا English or Tigray or Amharic بزرد نا instruction ونيروه so نا كم سلسلة page زي بزحة وأستطيع من presentation تهون بمالتي ميديا تهون أدى اليوم كمان سنوان عسين نجيب نيروه كلتا من عسيات participate نيروه Nati and Mike Governance. So, خلتي عادم صبوا presentation along as a تعرضنا اليوم. So, كاب Nati لكن جبر Nati ناي junior high تمهاريو Mike بما ناي university graduate لذي ضد درجهم بتخلتهم عادم جنسن زعوات استهروا topic. Present Gregorio, so Nati.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nathaniel Tisbai. Today I will be talking with you all today about the beginning of the struggle of the people of Tigray, or in Tigrinya, In the 1970s, the communist dictatorial military government was in power in Ethiopia. This government was very oppressive towards the people's rights, which led to the young adults of Tigray to rebel against the government. This rebellion, started by 11 Tigrayans, grew into thousands and thousands of Tigrayans, rebelling for 17 long and hard years. Many of the young adults during this time period fled from the land, yet the people that stayed behind to fight up ended up prisoned, such as my father, for a long period of time. Unfortunately, most of these prisoners and other outsiders were tortured and killed. But after this hardship and tragic 17 years, the TPLF won the war. The TPLF ever since stayed in power for 27 years, and the country increased rapidly, both politically and economically. Now, with the current elected government, the TPLF's good works are now discredited and downgraded, concerning all Tigrayans by this new government. So what now? What can we do to stop this quicker? What will help save more lives instead of more dying? Being together, working together, fighting together, not against. We've already experienced one struggle, so why start another? Revenge? We are all defined as Tigrayans, so we must be Tigrayans, together. عواتن بمكاتن نبقال عسرت هذا لكاتيت زل عالماوي كبرين موجسن نجاكانو سمايتاتنا.
Mike Governance.
My name is Mike Governance. I'm going to give you a quick presentation on the armed struggle of the Tigray people. I'm going to go over some of the terminology we're going to be talking about. The first one is lekatit. Is February in America is also the month of the beginning of the struggle. The Derg is the military party that was in charge, the communist faction that was going to be overthrown in 1991. Tigray, the northernmost state in Ethiopia, once the center of power in Ethiopia, aka the Aksumite Empire, in the year 100. Another term is leadership, inspiring others through purpose, motivation, and direction to achieve a common goal. TPLF is the Tigray People's Liberation Front. And then self-determination, the will of a group of people to not let outside factors determine or influence their decisions regarding their way of life, religion, culture, and politics. So in this group of people, if we want to do what we want, we're going to do what we want, because that's how our culture goes. So to kind of understand how this all happened, we have to look a little bit before. Some of the same issues we see now are the same issues that are going to happen previously in the past. In the year 1769 to 1855, the era of princes is basically when Ethiopia was splitting the land amongst the different people. So you had people like, the most powerful Amharas, they were taking the land. The most powerful Tigrayians, they were taking the land. And this is how it kind of split up. So these people were splitting up based on their ethnic groups instead of, who deserved the land. This was the beginning of this. So instead of saying, hey, I'm from Texas, this is Texas land, or this is Oklahoma land, they should be saying this is United States land. Afterwards, as more people become in charge, Haile Selassie, even after him, the Derg, when they became in power, they tried to start a One Ethiopia movement, but this is not what the people wanted. Tigray wanted to be Tigray, Amhara wanted to be Amhara, whatever that is. So we had things like Tigray had a movement from 1942 to 1943 where they kind of showed their discontent with the government and how it was going, that they weren't having equal representation. You had Bale do the same thing with Gojam, Eritrea with their independence. These various ethnic groups didn't have a way to unite. They all had each other, but they didn't want to be with the others. So it's important to note that they're, Haile Selassie, the Derg, they said they want one Ethiopia, but they didn't treat it like one Ethiopia. The biggest example of this, if you scroll down, please. The biggest example of this was the 1972 bombing of Mekelle by the British Air Force with the backing of Haile Selassie. This was something that, this was 1942 to 1943, Wayane. This basically was violence from the central government to Tigray because they were discontent with what was going on. In the Bible they say in the Gospel of Matthew, violence begets violence. If you start violence, you're only going to get more violence. And this is how that kind of stuff happens. People are going to feel, heard about things like this, and it's going to cause discontent. So if you scroll down, the actual struggle itself began in 1974, with those 11 people starting the first TPLF. The first guy, Gesese Ayele, basically one of the founding members of the TPLF. Without him, I don't think the TPLF would have existed. He had the kind of respect from everybody in Tigray. He was a military leader. He cared about the people. He didn't care just about Tigray or anything like that. He cared about everybody. First he loved Tigray, of course, first and foremost, but everybody else too. You don't want to hurt other people. You want to help them. So he was one of the big leaders who helped establish the TPLF, made it popular for people to join in Tigray to support it. When that movement first started in 1974, tension was very heated. I believe in the 1970s, Tigrinya was banned as a national language. Also, as well, you had droughts from like 1972 to 1974. This was called the Red Terror. There was also another drought in the 80s. So you're having people dying, countless people dying. I think between 1973 and 1991, 1.4 million people died. 1 million of those deaths were strictly related to famine, which means having no food, drought, all that stuff. Only 400,000 of those deaths were related to war. So that means almost all of it was civilian death, not people who were fighting, but the regular people who were just living in towns, had no food to eat, who had to go to church to beg and all that stuff to get food. So when you have, the TPLF is fighting back, I know, for example, one turning point in the war was when they overtook a hospital in Bmknyat Mebel. When they finally did that, they fought back against the Derg's military. The people came out in the streets and they were happy about the TPLF. They were cheering them on, all this stuff, yada yada. And you could tell that they had the support of the people. What was the difference between them and the Derg in terms of political ideas was not that much different, but what they wanted to do was for the people. The Derg was just strictly military power that wanted to stay in power, a true communist. So as you go on through these countless missions, the TPLF gained the support of the people. They worked with other groups like the EPLF, the OPF, the other people who felt oppressed by the military powers that were in charge. And they finally came together to take down. So it was by 1989 when Mr. Haile Mariam went to visit Germany to get more weapons. When he knew he was losing, he came back because his own military wanted to cut him out. They wanted to cancel him. And he figured out, and they actually killed some of his generals and stuff like that in retaliation for what he did. So this was a sign that there was, the end was near. Even within his own power, people didn't want him to be there. Inside and outside, people were trying to take them down. So finally, on May 28th, 1991, after peace talks that the United States kind of helped with, they went to London, they all discussed, but they really couldn't find a common ground. The EPLF, the TPLF, and the OPF went into Addis Ababa, and then they took down the Derg. The Derg was done. But the main point to take from this is that 1.4 million people died. A very small fraction of that was from war. A lot of that was just common people dying. People who did not need to die. And during this time, those people who didn't need to die, the taxes were raised. So not only was it expensive to get food, but it's expensive to get water, healthcare, all that stuff. And it's already, an older time, this kind of stuff doesn't exist. So for that to happen, for the government to kind of, not support its own people, is kind of crazy. And that, kind of really underlines the point of why this armed struggle needed to happen, was that the people were not being supported. So some of the issues with this movement should have been recognized at the very beginning, when they split the land from 1769 to 1855. Instead of splitting the land up into, the Tigrays get this land, you get this land, yada yada, they should have been more focused on, how can we best help Ethiopia? When you think about a common goal, when you think about true leadership, it's having a common goal and making sure we all get to the end point, instead of, we're each here for each other, doing our own thing. You can do your own thing, but you have to have a common goal to help everybody. Another big divide that you can also see in other parts of Africa, and you can kind of see in Europe too, was that there was a difference in language. Everyone doesn't speak the same language, If you speak tigray, that's one thing. If you speak Omorinya, that's one thing. If you speak Amharic, that's another thing. But because everyone speaks these different languages, there's a division. That's not saying you have to pick one language or another, but you have to, if I'm going to go here, I'm going to speak this language. If I go here, I speak that language. What's in that area? So that way it shows that, we're going to, if someone comes to Tigray, they're going to show us respect, they're going to speak Tigray, and they should learn it. And the same for other things too, because we need to respect each other, our differences. Otherwise, we're just going to keep fighting. If you don't respect each other's differences, like here in the United States, we have a lot of issues. If we don't respect each other, the differences that we have, you may be different than me, but if I don't respect what you have, how do you expect us to get along and to get working together? The United States would not go anywhere if we didn't work together, and a lot of us are all very different. So the language is a big one, but it also bleeds into other barriers, like the culture, the workplace, all that kind of stuff. If people can't find that common ground to connect, then it's only going to cause violence, and violence begets more violence, like the book of Matthew says. So going forward from here, I think the biggest point that we should take from this is that, Tigray did a great thing in finally, overthrowing that military power. Self-determination is a big thing, celebrating your culture, all that stuff is very, very important. But another thing to take from it is that, we're all Ethiopian at the end of the day. We should all celebrate Ethiopia. Well, we should all celebrate Tigray. We should all celebrate Ethiopia. Because at the end of the day, out of all the countries in Africa, 1 out of 2 of those countries was not, or 2 of those countries were not taken over by any European power. No white man took over any country named Ethiopia or Liberia. That's a big thing for no other country, no white people to take over our country. That's a big, big thing. So we should all appreciate our culture. We should have pride in each other. No matter where you're from, where you come from, if you're from Ethiopia, we should, at the end of the day, really appreciate each other. You may be different than me. You may celebrate something different than me. I'm going to celebrate what I celebrate. You celebrate what you celebrate. But we're one people at the end of the day. So, be proud of being from Tigray, but we should also be very proud to be from Ethiopia, because at the end of the day, our history is very important. We're a rich culture, we're rich people, beautiful people, all that stuff. So we got to remember that at the end of the day. Instead of always fighting, just remember that, hey, we're one people at the end of the day. We're beautiful people, so let's just get along. Thank you.
تشلمات تغسل يوم مالتي we really appreciate Nati, Mike, you was, I mean, Nati, you were born here, both of you, right, Mike? Yes, it's really amazing to see these youngsters born here, but going back to their roots and telling us the history behind all what we are celebrating today. So we are really proud of them, and at this time, I would like to request parents to let their children participate in every event like this. Among these all Tagaru youngsters, these two guys came and did the best job that we have never seen before. So let's give them a hand, please. One more. Tagara highlight. نظام كل كشدمات تهبلنا نبدرة نخدمة نقدمك. Nati. Yeah. There we go. Okay, great job. Okay, Nati. Okay, next will be Mike Gabriel to the stage. Mike. Hey. Great job. All right, Mike. Congratulations. All right. Yeah, Mike was certificated. Yay! Good job.
What that tigray idea? Know what?
lekatit كوزينا تهاجمنا تنوعلهم نايجد ليو نبتة إلى lekatit ببعض كوزينا نوعلهم ذو النجار لقلاتنا بتفعلنا نجار يكونا حزبا ويا لحدنا tigray نوحتي بزحات عوضات الدال الزجبة مجمرة عتكاو غالسي دحر عتكاو غالسي لما بوليتيكاوي محبراوي إيكونومياوي بدايات عدنا وين مهاجرنا كتبي لا بدي فلتو مالكوعو عبيد ولا إيكونومي ربعا لا نسجب مسيو أبزي كروا جزيرات كفتي مزوج صلوا ما قاعد نخيل العقبة صبور توصلوا نقرأ تقاتي مو بس لبنور سمعت يا حيرتات لتقاتي ما تدرت إيش تيجي تتقيمه رفعنا يو سألنا يو زود بزي كنا نصرف النخل نفس مليلو أو وصلوا لجزء already كان حزن العار أي مدرسة زود بزي طفي يلو أو زبرلو بتود كم حدش شجراتو ريو سجماتو ريو انت ايام توم شجريتا ايام توم سجميلو نعاتهم بخمي ملفع خلص قرفهم وي كم زهاليهم أسرارو كم حدش وديبو كم دخلنا نفطو نابت حزي درجة وصحب درجة وصحب حزي تومس جبنا يزول زنورو انت ايز نقاري لهم بدحريت نصحبلو نحنا لما وين لما تود وياك ويا نحرنا الله لما نافتي زنور سرة تمليسو أبزت أمام الدرجة زوج حلو موالو كحادة فلي بزبالة هنا تاتنا خبرون مالك بخلاي ننوح زمانات عسرع عمت أكوابي نس أقرأ بتناظر كو إيرتراويان حواتنا ننوح كذي تفعلالينا نصنحنا تزنا ورا مقارجة تقريدو ناو حدا نتأها فورد تزنا ورا شجر تقريفو نرى فورد المقاد وراي اتفتح العمت سلزغلة فلي يقول مارتي الضوء فليات كنت بسرعة أو نقرأ تزيرو محاويسنا نستقدم يلو دامز قولا يزنات عن حوتات كرية لنا يكاتيت حزوناي عاود بعاود زخيد لنا موانو كردا يجبا
እዞም እንብሎም ዘለና ዓወታት ግን ስኢሎም እዮም ኣብቲ ቅድም ዘልዕትካዎ ቃልሲ ከም እትፈልጥዎ መዓልቲኡ ጋር ንኸፊልና ኢና ካብኡ ንድሓር እውን ኣብቲ ናይ ሰላም ግዜ ዝበሃል እውን ቀሊል ዘይበሃል መስዋዕት ተኸፊሉ እዩ ሕዚ እውን መስዋዕት እንዳቐፀለ እዩ ግን ንመስዋዕት ዘይፈርሕ ተሪር ህዝቢ ስለ ዘለና እዚ ተሪር ህዝቢ እዙይ ብደሙ ብፅፍሩ ዘጋጠምዎ ሽግራት ንጎን እንዳኣለየ ንቅድሚት ዝኸይድ እምበር ብዝኾነ ችግር ኣጋጢምዎ ዕፅፍ ዝብል ህዝቢ ከም ዘየለ ፀላእትና ኣፅቢቖም እተረድኡሉ ኩነታት እዩ ዘሎ ነዚ ድማ ንሕና ተጋሩ ክንሕበረሉን ክንኮርዐሉን ስለ ዝግበአና እስኪ ብጣዕዒት ግለፁለየ ይብል Thank you. يقديلي إن እንታይ የምደን የፍታ ወዳታ ዓጥዋ ቀለቡ ሕዝውን ሰፊ ቃል ስለቀድ ሜዳ ዘሎ ምዃኑ ተረዲና ኩላትና ተጋሩ ብቃልስና ብጽፍርና ነበር ብይሁንታ ዝኾነ ሓይሊ ደንጊጹ ዝህበና ነገር ዘየለ ምዃኑ ተረዲና ክንቃለስ ድልዋት ኮይና ክንከይድ ከም ዘለና እሳ ጥራሕ ድማ ንዓና እተንብረናን እተውፀናን ምዃና ሓንቲ መማርቅ ዘላትና ምዃና ክንከልክል ኩሉ ግዜ ተጋሩ ብቃልስና ዝጽፍርና ነበር ደንጊጾም ዘንብሩና ይኹን ኢሎም ዝሽልሙና ነገር ከም ዘየለ ካብ ሕሉፍ ታሪክና ተረዲና ሓንቲ መማርቅ ዘላትና ምዃና ክንከልክል ሰላም ይሸል
ዘላለማዊ ክብሪ ንስዋዕትና ዘላለማዊ ክብሪ ንስዋዕትና ክብርን ሞገስን ንስዋዕትና ደጊመ ይበል ኳዓብዓኮ ዛንታ ስዋዕት ብሎሚ መዓልቲ ማለት ኩልና ተጋዲና ኢና ትርሳዕ ግዜ ኣይኮነትን ዛንታ ሓየሎም ኣርኣያ ብሎሚ መዓልቲ ዛንታ ቀላኒ ፈንቀስ ትብል እትያ ናይ መርሲ ፈንቅልና መርዛሙ ወጥዕቱ ብሓቂ ድዩ ሓዲቡና ሞይቱ ኢሉ ኣይስሓየ እንታይ ብትፀኪልካ ኣብ ወርሒ ለካቲት ከምዘይ ተሓበንካ ሓየሎም መፀመፀ ከምዘይ ተባሃልካ እስኪ መለሰለይ ንምንታይ ፀኪንካ ስሑል ድዩ ሙሴ ዘዊዕካ ንሶም ዶ ናብቆም ወይ ዝምስኻ ውዕሉል ጀግና ዶ ኣይኮንካን መሃንዲስ ናይ ኩናት ዓብየት ወፋይነት ወናም ሓቦ ፅንዓት ሓየ ፈቃዲቱ ዘቃድስ ንኣዛቕ ዝርምስስ እዎ ሓየ ፈዳይ ኣነ ንወገን ዘሕጉስ እዎ ሓየ ፈዳይ ኣነ ንወገን ዘሕጉስ ደጊመ ይብል እንኳ ዓብፅኩም ንለካቲት 11 ዘለዓለማዊ ክብሪ ንስዋዕትና ዘለዓለማዊ ክብሪ ንስዋዕትና